A chill races down your spine as you watch the grainy footage. It flickers across the screen, a silent testament to something sinister lurking just beneath the surface of our everyday lives. The date and timestamp in the corner of the screen are insignificant. The location could be anywhere. The only thing that matters is the figure standing there, silent and still. He is watching the camera, watching you, and he is smiling. This is not a smile of joy or amusement or even casual pleasantry. This is a smile that chills you to your core, a smile that speaks of something cold, calculating, and utterly devoid of humanity. This is the smile of a predator, reveling in the fear that emanates from the screen. The footage is unclear, the details obscured by static and shadow, but the smile is unmistakable. This is the story of the smiling man, a specter who has haunted the nightmares of detectives and citizens alike for years, a figure shrouded in mystery, his identity unknown, his motives unclear. All that remains are the chilling images captured on surveillance cameras across the country. Why does he smile? What dark pleasure does he derive from the terror he inflicts? These are the questions that plague investigators and armchair detectives alike. Is it a taunt? A mocking gesture aimed at the authorities who desperately try to track him down? Or is it something more sinister? A window into a mind so twisted that even the most seasoned profiler can't decipher its depths? The smile is a constant, an unsettling reminder that we are not alone. That even in the supposed safety of our homes, our offices, our well-lit streets, someone or something is watching, waiting. It is a symbol of our collective unease, a physical manifestation of the fear that festers in the shadows of our subconscious. The smile is a puzzle piece in a larger mystery, a puzzle that has baffled law enforcement agencies across the country. Each new piece of footage, each new sighting, only deepens the mystery, adding another layer of fear and uncertainty to an already terrifying situation. The question is no longer just who he is, but what he represents. Fear has become a constant companion, a shadow that follows our every move. The city streets, once bustling with life, now feel eerily empty, as if the very air is thick with unspoken dread. People avoid eye contact, their gazes darting nervously towards security cameras, their minds filled with the image of the smiling man. Trust has eroded, replaced by a pervasive sense of paranoia. The smiling man has become a boogeyman for the digital age, a chilling reminder that even in an age of constant surveillance, true evil can still lurk just out of sight. He is a ghost in the machine, a digital phantom that haunts our computer screens and our collective consciousness. His presence is a constant threat, a reminder that no one is safe. This is the story of a city held hostage by fear. A city where every shadow could conceal the smiling man, and every smile could be a prelude to terror. This is a story that will stay with you long after you finish reading. A chilling reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved. The first rays of dawn cast long, eerie shadows over the sleepy town of Salem, Oregon. A thin veil of fog clung to the streets, obscuring the familiar landscape in an ethereal haze. It was a morning like any other, until the first responders arrived at the stop-and-go on the edge of town. The silence of the early morning was shattered by the piercing wail of sirens, a sound that sent a shiver down the spines of the few souls awake at that hour. Inside the gas station, a scene of unimaginable horror awaited. Alan Reyes, a young man with a bright smile and even brighter dreams, lay sprawled on the floor behind the counter. His lifeblood stained the linoleum a grotesque shade of crimson, a stark contrast to the brightly lit aisles of candy and chips that lined the walls. The air hung heavy with the coppery tang of blood, a scent that spoke of violence and despair. The first responders, hardened veterans of countless tragedies, were visibly shaken by the brutality of the crime. There was no forced entry, no sign of a struggle, no indication that Alan had even seen his attacker coming. It was as if he had simply vanished, only to reappear moments later, lifeless and still. The only clue to the killer's identity lay in the gas station's security system. Section 2. The Grainy Witness. Detective Ben Carter, a man who had seen more darkness than any human being should, sat hunched over a flickering screen in the back room of the Stop and Go. The air was thick with the smell of stale coffee and desperation, a scent that had become all too familiar in recent months. On the screen before him, grainy security footage played on a loop, each frame a silent scream frozen in time. The footage was unremarkable at first glance, just the usual late-night traffic at the Stop and Go. A trucker grabbing a cup of coffee, a young couple giggling over a bag of chips, a lone figure approaching the counter. But as Ben watched the figure approach, a cold knot of dread twisted in his gut. The figure was tall and slender, dressed in nondescript clothing that seemed to swallow him whole. His face was obscured by the shadows of the hood pulled low over his head, but as he drew closer, something sent a shiver down Ben's spine. It was a smile, a slow, deliberate curl of the lips that stretched across the figure's face like a crack in a porcelain mask. There was no warmth in that smile, no humanity, only a chilling emptiness that seemed to suck the air from the room. Ben had seen countless smiles in his line of work. Smiles of joy, smiles of sorrow, smiles of madness. But none had ever filled him with the same sense of primal dread as the smile on the screen before him. Section 3. A puzzle without pieces. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the investigation into Alan Reyes's murder remained frustratingly stagnant. The grainy security footage, the only witness to the crime, offered tantalizing glimpses of the killer, but no concrete leads. Facial recognition software proved useless, the killer's face obscured by the shadows and the low resolution of the camera. Fingerprints were non-existent, the crime scene wiped clean of any trace evidence. The town of Salem, once a tranquil haven, was gripped by a fear that ran deeper than the fog that clung to its streets. Parents walked their children to school, their eyes darting nervously at every passing shadow. Shopkeepers kept their doors locked even during daylight hours, their faces etched with a mixture of suspicion and dread. The smiling man, as he came to be known, had cast a pall over the town. His presence felt in every whispered conversation, every nervous glance over the shoulder. Ben Carter, haunted by the image of the smiling man and the memory of Alan Reyes's lifeless eyes, threw himself into the investigation with an almost manic intensity. He spent countless hours poring over the security footage, searching for any detail, any clue that might lead him to the killer. But the smiling man seemed to exist only in the flickering shadows of the grainy footage, a phantom that vanished into thin air as soon as he appeared. Section 4. Whispers in the Night. As the investigation dragged on, rumors and speculation began to swirl around the smiling man like the fog that clung to the town. Some whispered that he was a drifter, passing through town on his way to darker deeds elsewhere. Others claimed he was a local, hiding in plain sight, biding his time until he struck again. The lack of any concrete information only fueled the flames of paranoia, turning neighbor against neighbor, fear breeding suspicion in every heart. The local news, hungry for any scrap of information that might satisfy the public's insatiable appetite for the macabre, ran story after story about the smiling man, each more sensational than the last. Amateur sleuths emerged from the woodwork armed with conspiracy theories and internet research, convinced that they held the key to unlocking the mystery. But the truth, as elusive as the killer himself, remained just out of reach, hidden in the shadows of a town consumed by fear. And so, the town of Salem waited, holding its breath, dreading the day the smiling man might choose to step out of the shadows and into the light, leaving a trail of blood and terror in his wake. The question was no longer if he would strike again, but when, and who would be the next victim in his twisted game. Months had passed since the horrific events in Salem, Oregon. The memory of Alan Reyes, the young gas station clerk, and the chilling image of the smiling man had begun to fade, replaced by a cautious sense of normalcy. But deep down, a knot of unease lingered in the hearts of those who had witnessed the horrors firsthand, a gnawing suspicion that the nightmare was far from over. Then, on a crisp spring evening, the unthinkable happened again. This time, the scene was Boise, Idaho, a city seemingly worlds away from the quiet streets of Salem. The victim, Mark Olson, a successful businessman found murdered in his own home office. The details were eerily familiar. No forced entry, no signs of a struggle, just a cold, calculated execution. As investigators combed through the evidence, a chilling realization began to dawn. The Olson residence was equipped with a state-of-the-art security system, and the footage captured a figure that sent a shiver down their spines. A tall, slender man, his face obscured by a hood, his lips curled into that same unsettling smile. The smiling man had struck again. News of the Boise murder spread like wildfire, igniting a firestorm of fear and speculation. The similarities between the two cases were too striking to ignore. The seemingly random victims, the cold-blooded efficiency of the murders, and of course, the chilling presence of the smiling man. The media, always eager for a story that would grip the nation, wasted no time in drawing connections, their headlines screaming about a possible serial killer on the loose. Law enforcement agencies across the country were now on high alert. The FBI, recognizing the potential for a multi-state investigation, stepped in to coordinate efforts between local police departments. A task force was assembled, comprised of the best and brightest investigators, determined to catch the smiling man before he could claim another victim. The pressure was on, and every lead was pursued with relentless determination. The grainy security footage from both crime scenes was analyzed frame by frame, hoping to uncover any clue, any detail that might lead them to the killer. Witnesses were questioned, their memories probed for any glimpse of the smiling man, any detail that might help to break the case wide open. As the investigation unfolded, a palpable sense of unease settled over the nation. The smiling man, once a local mystery confined to the Pacific Northwest, had become a national nightmare. His image, plastered across newspapers and television screens, became a haunting symbol of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of everyday life. People became hyper-aware of their surroundings, their eyes constantly scanning for any sign of the smiling man. Security companies reported a surge in sales of home surveillance systems as citizens sought to protect themselves from an unseen enemy. The line between fear and paranoia blurred as the smiling man's reign of terror seeped into the collective consciousness of a nation. The smiling man had become more than just a killer. He had become a cultural phenomenon, a boogeyman for the digital age. His image sparked countless debates on television talk shows and internet forums, as experts and armchair detectives alike grappled with the mystery of his motives and the chilling nature of his crimes. Despite their best efforts, the task force assigned to the Smiling Man case found themselves facing a frustrating lack of progress. The killer was meticulous, leaving behind no trace evidence and seemingly vanishing into thin air after each murder. The security footage, while providing a chilling glimpse of the killer, offered little in the way of concrete leads. The investigators were baffled. Who was this Smiling Man, and what drove him to commit such horrific acts? Was he a drifter, traveling from town to town, leaving a trail of bodies in his wake? Or was he a more calculating predator, carefully selecting his victims and planning his attacks with chilling precision? The lack of answers only fueled their determination. They worked tirelessly, poring over every piece of evidence, every witness statement, desperate for a break in the case. They knew that time was of the essence, that each passing day brought with it the risk of another innocent life lost to the Smiling Man's reign of terror. The crisp mountain air of Flagstaff, Arizona, held a deceptive serenity. Nestled amongst towering pines and beneath a sky teeming with stars, the city seemed a world away from the horrors that had plagued Salem and Boise. Yet, it was here in this tranquil setting that the Smiling Man would strike again, leaving an indelible mark on the city's soul. Emily Tran, a young, aspiring photographer, was last seen leaving her apartment building late one Friday evening. Her friends described her as a free spirit, always eager to explore the world through the lens of her camera. Her infectious laughter a beacon of joy to all who knew her. But Emily's laughter was silenced that night. Her dreams dashed against the cold, hard reality of the Smiling Man's brutality. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through the community. Flyers bearing Emily's smiling face appeared on telephone poles and shop windows, each one a silent plea for her safe return. Search parties scoured the surrounding woods, their hopes dwindling with each passing hour. The Smiling Man, it seemed, had claimed another victim, his presence casting a long, dark shadow over the once peaceful city. Investigators found a grainy security image of Emily in her apartment lobby, followed by a hooded figure with a chilling smile. The figure, tall and slender, moved with an unnerving grace, following Emily into the night. This time, he seemed aware of the camera, pausing briefly as if acknowledging it, a chilling revelation for the investigators. Weeks passed, and the search for Emily Tran grew colder. Despite their efforts, investigators found no fingerprints, DNA, or trace evidence linking to the Smiling Man. The frustration was palpable, as the Smiling Man remained an enigma, his motives elusive. The investigation into the Smiling Man's reign of terror became a labyrinth of dead ends. Every lead evaporated, and the task force found themselves mired in frustration. The Smiling Man seemed always one step ahead, his true identity hidden in plain sight. The investigation hit a wall, a testament to the Smiling Man's meticulous nature. He left no fingerprints, DNA, or fibers, as if he understood forensic science better than the investigators. His silence was another weapon, with no taunting calls or cryptic messages. Seasoned detectives were unnerved by his spectral presence, as if he were toying with them. His silence amplified the fear, a constant reminder of their inability to penetrate his world. The smiling man left behind a recurring anomaly, a single word scrawled in various locations at each crime scene. Words like smile or reflect were meticulously reversed, as if intended to be read in a mirror. This bizarre detail drove investigators to obsession, trying to decipher the meaning. The words remained a frustrating puzzle, a mocking reminder of their inability to understand the monster they hunted. The reversed writing and the lack of evidence pointed to a chilling conclusion. The smiling man was an artist of fear. He used security footage to craft his own narrative, projecting his image into the minds of a terrified public. Each smile and glance was a staged performance, designed to inspire terror. Investigators were mere pawns in his game, struggling to make sense of the chaos. The smiling man's reign of terror spawned countless theories, each more outlandish than the last. Law enforcement focused on tangible evidence, but the question of motive lingered. The smiling man was seen as a master manipulator, his victims chosen with chilling precision. Copycat crimes began to surface, their perpetrators inspired by the smiling man's exploits. These copycats added a new layer of fear and uncertainty to the situation. The smiling man had become more than a criminal. He was an idea, a symbol of chaos and despair. Ethan Cole, a college dropout, became the latest pawn in the smiling man's game. His arrest revealed his reverence for the smiling man, claiming him as a prophet. Ethan's confession confirmed the investigators' worst fears. The smiling man's influence was real, infecting the minds of the vulnerable. Ethan Cole's confession forced the task force to consider the possibility that the smiling man's grin was a conduit for his twisted will. The idea, though far-fetched, gained traction as they consulted experts in psychology and occultism. The answers remained elusive, hidden in the depths of the human mind. The investigation into the smiling man case remains open, a hum of activity beneath normalcy. The initial panic has subsided, replaced by acceptance that some monsters walk among us. For those who witness the terror firsthand, the memories linger, a reminder that some mysteries remain unsolved. Who was the smiling man? Theories abound, each as chilling and inconclusive as the last. Some whisper of ancient cults, others of government experiments gone wrong. The smiling man case serves as a reminder of the limitations of human understanding, of the vast unknowable depths beyond our perception. The smiling man, though absent from the headlines and the nightly news, has left an indelible mark on the collective psyche. His image, once a symbol of terror, has evolved into a cautionary tale, a reminder that even in an age of constant surveillance and technological advancement, true evil can still lurk in the shadows, its motives as elusive as the grin etched on a phantom's face. He has become a boogeyman for the digital age, his legend passed down through grainy security footage and whispered rumors. His story serves as a chilling reminder that some things are best left undisturbed, that some doors are better left unopened, lest we unleash a darkness we cannot hope to comprehend. The legacy of the smiling man is not one of answers, but of questions. It is a legacy of fear and uncertainty, of the fragility of our perceived safety, and the chilling realization that some mysteries are destined to haunt us long after the lights have dimmed and the cameras have stopped recording. Thank you for watching. If you love the story, please show us support by liking and subscribing to our channel. See you next time.